Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 83 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle and Sean. Mike is out on assignment. Thank you for joining us today. Sean, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Turtle. It's always fun to kind of switch off the norm here. This is the first rule of three that I've been a part of, which I guess we didn't really say, by the way. But today we have rule of three episode for you. So that's kind of what we do when one of us is out. And if you've listened to our previous ones, which why haven't you?
Please
If
do.
you haven't, yeah. But going back very recently, we did Code Geass. That time I got reincarnated as a slime, and Dragon Ball Daima. And with all three of those, I was not there. Mike was there because I was out on assignment. But now I'm back. Mike's out on assignment, and Turtle is a steady presence. But how you doing, Turtle?
I'm good. I had a long day at work today, so I'm happy to be out of there and to talk some anime and do your first rule of three. I mean, you and I have had a few offshoot episodes where we talk about like the live action One Piece. We did a Toonami special, so we've done a couple things, but we've not done a rule of three with you. So I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, our episodes have been fun. I feel like one of these I have to get on with Mike maybe and do one of these days. But
Yeah, I can sit out. I can be on assignment, and if I'm on assignment, I'm probably just on my computer editing. I don't have
yeah,
time to
that
actually
that's why
record
you're
anything.
steadily here, Turtle. You're not a big go on vacation for a week kind of guy. Um,
Yeah, I don't really have the funds for that. Plus, I won't fly, so how far can I get on a
eh,
bus?
yeah, I guess you could drive, take a road trip,
I'm more of a staycation kind of guy. Just, be
catch,
away from the world for a while.
catch up on your hobbies.
Yeah, writing songs,
Hey, I see nothing
not
wrong with
editing.
like gaming. You know what I mean? Like if you just took 5 days off work and gamed for all five, I would say
Woo.
vacation well spent.
Absolutely. I don't get enough time to game that I would like. So that would be wonderful. But yeah, so today with Mike out on assignment, normally I would like pick a show for Mike to watch. But we have an interesting twist. Mike picked a show that he has been watching that you and I have not seen yet.
Which is rare
It's very rare.
because you and I are the big anime watchers, and Mike's kind of like our anime novice.
Yeah. So I don't know how he fell upon this show. I actually had never heard of it, though I'm usually not in the know about what's new and hot. But yeah, he picked this show, and this really will be a true rule of three because you and I have only seen the first three episodes of this for this recording. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm like I'm s- I was gonna watch the show anyway, so I'm really glad like something kicked me in the butt to get me to watch the first three episodes. I was gonna wait till it was all done to start watching, but now that I've watched three episodes, we can go over here. Do I really want to continue watching?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'll be honest. Like, if reading the description, I probably would not have watched the show because it sounded weird. And I'm so glad that I did because it is weird in a good way. So today we have the Rule of Three episode, and in our Rule of Three episodes, one of us picks a show. In this case, Mike picked this one, and Sean and I watch the first three episodes and decide if it's something that we would continue to watch. And this week, Mike picked for us to watch Dawn to Dawn. Dawn to Dawn can be viewed on Crunchyroll and Netflix? Question mark.
Let's say I actually is it on Crunchyroll?
Yes,
Oh,
because I watched it on Crunchyroll.
I watched it on Netflix, so
It can
there we
be viewed
go.
on Crunchyroll and Netflix. So episode one is titled "That's How Love Starts." I gotta say I love these episode titles so far.
Yeah, they're really funny.
So right out of the gate, typically, recently I should say, when you watch an anime, you get to see like the whole episode of the show, and then they hit you with like the opening theme as the credits. In this show, soon as you boot up episode one, you see the opening theme. and that's unusual nowadays. So it was different. But the opening theme for the show is called Otanoke by the band or artist, I don't know, Creepy Nuts. It shows up on the intro video, and I thought they were just referring to the creepy aliens. We'll get there. But the band is actually called Creepy Nuts. When I first heard this song, right out the gate, it starts with this like fast talking rap section. For those who follow and you know me a little bit, rap is definitely not my forte. It's not something that I really enjoy. It's not something I listen to. So when I first heard this, I was a little like, this song's not going to be for me. So I was brushing it aside right out the gate. But as this section goes on, we get hit with these melodies and this chorus section, and it's just so damn catchy. It's so good. I I, I have not given a whole lot of songs a 5 out of 5, but after watching this opening for each episode without skipping it to really kind of get into the song, I have to give this song a 5 out of 5. I just have to. The opening visuals are wacky. They're weird. There's actually like multiple art styles in the opening, and it kind of jumps between them, which is a little jarring. But I think that was intentional, and it really sticks with you. The visuals are cool. The song is cool. Everything is weird in a good way, and it's really grown on me quite quickly. So Move Over, Free Ren first opening. This song is also a 5 out of 5 for me.
I heard the opening before I started watching the episodes, and I would find myself after I like heard the opening a couple times, just walking around thinking like dun 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 dun, like the beginning of the opening. It's catchy.
It is. It's very catchy. The chord progression that they used, the melodies, once it gets in you, it just sticks there, and that's a good thing. That's how you know you have a good song.
So unlike our normal reviews, with the rule of three, we kind of just throw thoughts out there for the episodes. It's not the play by play. So there are a few notes that I took about some of the episodes and just like the things I thought were interesting or funny about the episodes. Um, I was wondering, obviously there were two main characters, right? There's a guy and a girl, and usually there's some sort of romantic tension there whenever they do a show like that. And I was like, okay, how are these two going to be linked up? I assumed that they were just going to be in the same class, sitting in that back corner next to each other, like every other anime. They didn't do that here. Though I think Momo does sit in that seat, that back corner seat. So there is that. Her friends are pretty interestingly designed. Um, and I like the Ganguro girl because it's not something you see a lot in anime, and I kind of hope that her friends make like more appearances in the episodes instead of it just being about like these two maybe going around and finding and fighting aliens and demons and spirits. I think there could be more fun than just that, though that is pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think they also have unique art style, and I'd be very interested to see like what comes to mind in like a school setting if like for anime is one that I watched a lot was Bleach. You have your main character who becomes a Grim Reaper, and then he has to sort of balance that with school life. And they reached the point where they kind of pushed away from that. But in the early episodes, it makes me wonder: is this going to kind of mirror that, where things happen to them, and now they have to balance the goofiness with aliens and spirits with school life? And are we going to get to see these characters again? So that's a good point, and I would like to see more of these characters.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, though I do like they open the episode. And there are two notes I had about just like even the opening scene of the episode. Momo and her like boyfriend, I guess. Uh, I don't know what was going on there, but the dude was like hitting her up for cash, and like, but she also wanted him to be like Ken Takakura, who I was like, who the frig is Ken Takakura? And I had to look him up, and he is a real actor. They didn't like make up like a fake celebrity. Dude's a real actor in Japan, and he's not really in anything that I've seen, so I can't talk about how cool he is or how stoic or strong and silent he is, maybe. So apparently she wants her Ken Takakura. Uh, so badly that she projected it onto this guy who is very obviously not a Ken Takakura.
Yeah, I wondered that at the same time, and I just assumed, "Oh, it's probably an actor or somebody over there," and I didn't even bother to look it up, but thank you for, verifying my general assumption.
Yeah. Um. So then, we see her take a walk, and she walks by the classroom that our other main character, Okaroon, is that how you pronounce it? Okaroon.
I believe so.
That's how he's kind of like mentioned. So he's Okaroon. I'm gonna call him Okaroon, and if I said it wrong, I'm sorry to everyone who has to hear me say the wrong name. I've only watched 3 episodes, guys. Give me a break.
I'll say it wrong with you if that's the case. Okaroon.
Yeah.
I like it.
So Okaroon is getting picked on by his classmates, and one of the guys talking about whipping like a magnet in his head or something, and I'm like, holy crap, this thing's gonna escalate. And then Momo goes and bails him out, and then of course, I'm like, you know, it's a bad message to deliver to the nerds, but sometimes you just gotta like the kid who's getting picked on. Sometimes it's just best to not get involved because the kid who gets picked on might be a weirdo, and he might approach you in the hallway of school and say, "You must have talked to me because you believe in aliens." To be fair, though, I pretty much my whole life actively seeked out the weirdo in the class because I think they're more fun than the regular guy in a lot of cases for me. But like, yeah, I'd rather hang out with the guy who believes in aliens than like, I don't know, some generic dude who has nothing interesting about him. So he's like, aliens are real, and Momo's like, that's freaking stupid. And he's like, what? And she's like, well, it's not, it's nothing like ghosts. Like ghosts are probably real. And this dude who believes in aliens is like, ghosts are freaking dumb. And so of course they challenge each other. If you go somewhere where there's an alien, and then if you go somewhere where there's a ghost, and you run into one, then you have to be my gopher. And of course they make their way to those respective locations in the middle of the night. Very, very creepy. And of course, Momo goes to a hospital where it says aliens were found, and Okarun goes to a tunnel where they say ghosts are found. And when it comes to this, I actually kind of thought it would be the opposite. I feel like an abandoned hospital would be a better place for ghosts, and like a tunnel in the middle of nowhere would be a better place for aliens. So I thought this was kind of odd.
I get the tunnel thing, but the hospital thing I didn't get. I was like, what do you mean aliens frequent a hospital, a rundown, unused hospital? That just seems dumb. There's got to be somewhere else we could put these aliens.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, it's very surprising. So yeah, during this time, when they go to these places, they're chatting on the phone, and they have like their flashlights or their phone lights going, and they're talking a little bit about their past, and Moa talks about her life, and we find out that I thought, here we go, here comes the classic like, oh, like normal hot girl likes nerdy guy trope that you run into so often in anime. But then you find out she's a little weird too. Like she was raised by a grandma who is a medium, and she's had all this exposure to paranormal practices, and it's just kind of surprising, I guess. So I kind of like that they added this layer to her character because I think if she was just a normal girl, it wouldn't be as good. But now that I like that she actually has exposure to this stuff, so there's a reason she could be open to the idea of aliens or ghosts because she's been exposed to her whole life by her grandma.
Yeah, I found it really interesting when she starts giving her backstory and explaining, my parents are gone. I was raised by my grandma, and she's a medium or psychic. I was like, whoa, okay, that's different. Wasn't expecting that twist. So it gives a an anchor point for the show for the wackiness we're going to get into. and where he's just a kid who believes in aliens. She actually has family relation to the paranormal, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and this connection to the paranormal, I've not read the manga or anything, but she was raised by her grandma, and I wonder if her parents are dead and their deaths were caused by something paranormal potentially, and she just doesn't know that.
Ooh,
It would make a lot of sense for a show like this to kind of write that in.
it would. And I'd be willing to bet that we will get there at some point within the show. They'll talk about that. So that's an interesting thought I didn't think of.
Maybe they're abducted by aliens.
Maybe. Oh man, I want to see
Uh,
where that goes.
yeah. Speaking of being abducted by aliens, so there's a lot of wild stuff, and we get into the shock factor of today's anime. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna start this one. We may have talked about it on the show before, but I think a lot of shows and manga now feel pressured to have their first chapter or first episode to have something truly shocking happen to hook an audience. We saw Solo Leveling, where it just became a bloodbath at the
yeah.
end of the first episode. We saw it in shows like Good Gosh, Goblin Slayer,
Oh
real
boy.
messed up. Yeah. But it got people talking about it and people started watching. Um, so a lot of these anime now are starting to just have shocking first episodes. It gets people talking and it gets them hooked and watching the rest of the series. Because there are a lot of shows that are just good series. They just don't have anything off the wall crazy like this. And this show really took it up a level, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. There's I mean, do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to
No, no,
to?
I'll handle it.
Okay.
I'll save you. I'll save you from this one, Turtle. Okay, so let's
It's all
start with
you.
the tunnel, right? Uh, Okarun's in the tunnel, and he is approached by a ghost, and he starts running away from the ghost, and it's like the tunnel keeps getting longer and longer.
Which that looked really cool, by the way. I love how that was animated.
Oh, I agree. Oh yeah, I did want to talk about the animation of the series. We can do that at the end here.
Yeah.
But it goes on, and it was a really cool scene, really well animated. And the guy gets grabbed. Okarun gets grabbed by the spirit, and Momo warns him that he will be cursed if he's caught. So our boy is probably caught. But the most stunning part is when Turbo Granny says that she'll let him suckle on her teats or something,
I think that's what she says.
and that she wants his dong.
Oh my.
Yeah, so there's a good chance if you're listening to this episode, you've already seen the episodes.
If not,
So
you're gonna
I'd
be
be
like,
very
"What the hell is
surprised.
this show?"
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if this was your first exposure to Dawn listening to our episode, but you never know, since this will be released before the series is complete. And then we go back to Momo. She hears all the insanity, and then she gets kidnapped by the aliens. They are there. Actually, they put her on their flying saucer, I believe.
Which is such
And
a like stereotypical '50s flying saucer looking thing.
oh yeah, you gotta love they just used the classic flying saucer design, nothing special.
It's so silly. I loved it.
So with that, they the aliens. I hate that I'm saying this out loud.
Right? I know.
The the aliens are a race of all men, and there are no women anymore, and they have to do reproduction through cloning. But when it comes to cloning, you put your species at risk by just producing the same person with no genetic diversity. So they're people. I wouldn't say they're dying out, but there's no evolution. Nothing ever changes for them. So they are going to impregnate her with their seemingly robot parts and steal her uterus. I think.
I think they say that. Yeah.
Yeah. They also said they're going to steal her banana. I think. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I think you did, and that I don't know what to take away from that.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well because we're gonna get through this in episode 2. I'm gonna skip a little bit to episode 2. Does uh does the monster there also say something about taking a banana?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does, or it does.
So I'm wondering, is this banana a tangible item? I don't I
I mean,
don't know.
I was assuming it was the typical quote unquote item that you would assume it would be, but when they tell her that they're gonna steal her banana, I don't know what they're going for there,
Like Momo doesn't have one. She's just born female.
or does she?
I'm gonna guess no.
Okay, probably right,
I mean, to be
probably
fair,
right.
I haven't. I guess we haven't confirmed or denied it yet, but I'm gonna assume no. They get pretty far into this wild scene. Like she's in her underwear and everything, and it's pretty weird how
She's strapped
far
to a
they go in
table.
this scene.
She's strapped to the table.
Yeah, and they show like the dude like pulling her legs apart and stuff, and I'm like, do we really need I'm gonna refer to it as SA for assault. The A is assault, the S is what you think it is.
Yeah,
But do they really need to put like SA into episodes to get people to watch? I think about like Goblin Slayer. And I'm like, man, is this real? Like, do we have to do this? I understand. I watched Berserk. I
yeah,
watched I watched Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones outside the last season was like a masterpiece of television. It was a masterclass in storytelling, and Berserk, the manga especially, is a masterclass in storytelling. And I'm like, man, these really really good pieces of media use SA. I wouldn't say on the regular, but kind of on the regular.
they use it a lot.
Yeah, they do. And I'm starting to wonder if like when I was a younger, edgier teenager or like guy in my early 20s, I would read stuff like that and I'm like, yeah, that's just how it goes in media like this. You just kind of accept it, right? And I guess now I don't know, like I've been married for a while and like I see like the female perspective on some of it and I'm like, do we really need this stuff?
Right? I mean, I kind of agree. It's and like I see one aspect of it, especially with like Berserk. It's a dark fantasy, and it kind of harkens back to some medieval elements where, back in medieval times before we were civilized people, that was sort of a thing. But it's not a good thing, and it's something that we should remember happened and don't do it because it's not good.
And stuff like that still happens today. You know what I mean? There are a lot of cases, you know what I mean, where that kind of stuff happens. And I guess if you want gritty realism in really dark fantasy, it has a place there, I guess. But I
Yeah,
guess people know that that's dark fantasy. If they don't like the genre, they can just avoid it.
right.
So,
Yeah,
but this
this
isn't dark fantasy. It doesn't feel like this. I thought they could have kept her fully clothed, honestly. I feel like
yeah,
like being in her underwear as like a high school girl. I'm like, I, as a man in my 30s, don't need to see this scene.
yeah. And I mean, they could have had a more clothed and more subtle, like, hey, we want to do this, and then put a stop to it before anything gets as far as it did. Um, but yeah, this was maybe a bit too much, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there for some people who are like, you know, maybe think the same thing or completely against what I just said. They're like, do we need it? And some people might say, hey, it's an effective form of storytelling. It gets you shock factor, gets you viewers. Obviously works for marketing, so why not keep doing it? Whatever. Everyone's different opinion on it, I guess. But a couple more things in the episode. Okaroon travels through the phone.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, and the aliens are like, hey, we don't have that technology even. Like, if we don't have it, how do you have it? But I guess he using curse power or being possessed by a ghost, maybe.
I don't know. Now that the more I think about it, the less sense that makes. Like
Well, the only reason I can think
ghosts.
this might work is that he was drawn to her like psychic powers, maybe. Like the medium powers were kind of not active but passive, and he was drawn to it. But can ghosts go through the phone? It seemed like the kind of ghost that was locked to the tunnel. If the ghost could go anywhere, why didn't it just stay at the tunnel?
Right. And then, like, you know, back in the old days, quote unquote, you know, you had like landlines where like you could I could see like the ghost traveling through the phone line to get through the other end of the phone. These are cell phones. Like there's no line that connects them. So like I don't know. I'm just sort of now that I think about that, I'm having a hard time understanding how and why that occurred.
That's a good thought, Turo. I didn't think about that. Back whenever, because we would see that in media in like the 90s and early 2000s, like something traveling through the phone line. It was like stuff I've definitely seen in like kids' cartoons and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. It visually it looks great. I just don't really understand how or why that was a thing. But maybe down the road we'll get some sort of explanation. But right now I don't know why that happened.
But yeah, Okarun gets he comes through the phone in cursed form or whatever, and the cursed Turbo Granny is just like, yeah, I'm gonna take your dongs, and she just starts biting their dongs and whipping them across the room.
I'm probably gonna laugh every time you say that. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. And then one thing that was really cool as well, apparently Momo's powers awaken. She has medium powers just like her grandmother, and the animation for this was incredible.
Oh my goodness, yes. I looked this up just a few minutes ago while we were talking. The studio that animates Dawn to Dawn is Science Saru, and I've never heard of them before, but goodness gracious, they do incredible work on this show. It looks great. Like the whole episode has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at some of the stuff they've been a part of here. Um, well, so there's a difference, right? When you look up these studios, you can be like, oh, they sometimes they do just like little parts, like they're subcontracted to do certain parts of episodes. But sometimes they do full things. For example, like I see that they did work on Space Dandy, but it says Animation Production Cooperation Episode 9, Episode 16. The primary studio was Bones. So you're like, yeah, they worked on Space Dandy, which is a great show, great animation in that one. But uh, it was Bones, not them, who did the animation, right? So trying to figure what they did here. Oh, the Devilman Crybaby series on Netflix. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've
that's a
heard of
pretty
that,
good
but I
one.
haven't seen it.
Did they do Scott Pilgrim Takes Off?
No, did they? I'm trying to scroll
Um,
through.
Apparently there were multiple production companies. Um, but yeah, they're credited in Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Hey, if you
Huh.
like that, go listen to our review of that one too, because that was a fun series. Apparently doing a 2026 Ghost in the Shell title. Well,
And
as
it
long as
looks
it
like
doesn't interfere.
they had 2 shorts on Star Wars Visions as well, looks like the season 1.
Oh crap, that's
So that's
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah, this is ping pong the animation, which I didn't really see, but
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of interesting because I feel like they're not that big a studio, or like not like I'm looking at some of their works, and it's not very large. So I wonder if we're gonna have like a new Titan on the scene here, kind of.
Oh, that could be. I mean, I now take this with a grain of salt. I'm on Wikipedia. It looks like the oldest credits that I can find are from 2014, so they are a relatively new studio, it seems. So good for them. Like they're this has been really really great to watch. The colors, the sense of movement, everything has been like really good. I really like what they're doing.
And one thing I wanted to point out at the beginning of the first episode here, the animation actually looked kind of goofy at certain
Yeah.
points, like when the scene with her and her boyfriend,
Oh my
with
goodness,
Mo and her
yes.
boyfriend, was like goofily animated.
And I appreciate the silly animation they gave, Momo when, like, she's stomping down the hallway in school. That just made me laugh, and it's like, everything there's a lot of subtle animations that they do that are just so good, genuinely funny, and it just adds to the story, I think.
Yeah, and some of it's reminding me of some of the way it is. It reminds me of some of the old, like, more hand drawn days.
Yeah.
I watched this and I feel the vibes that I felt in like the like early like 2000s, like 2000 four, 2005, 2006. Like I feel like I get some of that feeling out of this. I don't know why they're vibes I get. I don't know why at times of like Cromartie High, Fully Cooley. I get Fully Cooley vibes off this. Do you get Fully Cooley vibes off this?
Yes, I did watch the original Fully Cooley anyway. I know there's a handful of sequels and spin-offs. I haven't seen those. But yeah, definitely there is a little bit of vibe from that.
Yeah, so like some of the animation choices and styles they had kind of reminded me of that. So I really like the animation so far, and I hope it continues to be pretty solid. But this episode is crazy, and after you watch this one, I don't know how you don't go to the second one immediately.
Right? Yeah, I was all in after episode 1. I was like, "Okay, this was absolutely wacky in a good way. What the hell's gonna happen next?" So, right on to episode 2. Well, I guess before we hit episode 2, I gotta talk about the closing theme.
Oh
Almost
yeah,
forgot.
please.
Sorry, guys. The closing theme is called, Taidada, and it's by Zutomeo. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. Here it is. A 5 out of 5. Again, for me. This is a little bit more of like a poppy rock song, but it's fun, it's catchy, and we get this strange cat character, which we've seen a little bit in the opening, but has not been in the show of episode 1 here, and I don't know who it is, but I happen to be a cat fan, as I have one, and, I just thought the visuals were fun, they're silly again, the song was very catchy and upbeat, and I couldn't skip it. So, yeah, this show has surprised me. We got 2 5 out of 5s for the opening and the closing theme. Holy crap. So now, on to episode 2, which is titled That's a Space Alien, Ain't It? Again, I love these titles.
Great titles. Yeah. So this episode, don't worry, you're sitting here for a half hour into our podcast, and you're saying, "Oh my gosh, they're talking about 3 episodes. Are they gonna go for an hour and a half?" Right? Like double check your timer, right? But the second episode, I felt like had a lot less going on. In my opinion, actually, I felt like the fight with the Flatwoods monster was a little too long. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I can
I don't know
see
about
that.
I don't know about you. Maybe I'm being a little picky, but it didn't keep my interest as well as I hoped it would. Um, by the way, shout out to the Flatwoods monster. So, longtime listeners of the podcast will know that I'm part of the Deepman Files podcast, which is surrounding like the paranormal, and it's scripted podcast, not like this, but there are episodes where cryptids are discussed, and the Flatwoods Monster is a famous cryptid out of West Virginia.
I did not
And
know that.
yeah, so it's really interesting seeing the Flatwoods Monster mentioned in this series because it's a regional American thing. But the Flatwoods Monster is one of the more famous ones out of West Virginia. Obviously, the most famous being Mothman. Maybe we'll see Mothman in the series. Who knows? But Flatwoods Monster is generally considered to be, as far as I know, an alien. And when I looked at this guy who showed up, and I know some other things happened before this, but I wanted to. We were on that string of thought. When I looked at this guy, I didn't think Flatwoods Monster, and then once they said it, I was like, oh my gosh, they have the head shaped a certain way. Like the back looks like the way a Flatwoods Monster would look, because the way people usually draw a Flatwoods Monster, it almost looks like a tall woman with a red head in a green dress. It kind of looks like that. And this guy did not look like that at all, but he looked like an interesting like Japanese spin on what a Flatwoods Monster could look like. And I thought it was really cool. Not only that, it was not because they're at the exorcist's home, right, or the medium's home. So you think, oh, it's going to be a spirit, but it ends up being an alien. Hence the episode title. That's a space alien, ain't it?
Yeah, I legit did not know anything about the Flatwoods Monster, so that's very fascinating to find out that they're pulling from actual, real folklore and legends, which that's just super cool. American ones, no less. So they really did their research. which is awesome. And yeah, it makes me wonder what else are they going to reference down the road? Mothman or who knows what else they could pull, cryptids and things from across the globe. So that's pretty wild. I'm excited to next time we come into something, I'm gonna have to do some research and see what it's based on.
Yeah, but the one thing I didn't understand is why it had to follow the rules of a sumo wrestler.
Yeah,
Uh, if it's an alien, why does it give a crap about sumo?
how would it know what sumo is? How long have they been on Earth watching and learning from us? So yeah, lots of questions about that.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that. I felt like the logic there. Now you're like, come on, Sean, you watching the show and trying to apply logic, and I'm like, yeah, you got to put a little logic in here.
I wonder if it's just like supposed to be a gag because there's a lot of comedy to this. So maybe like for a Japanese audience, they tied the Flatwoods monster into a sumo wrestler, and because he's a sumo wrestler, he has to abide by sumo rules.
Where apparently his hands can't touch the floor. I don't know the rules of sumo. This is another lost in translation thing for me, like
A little bit,
Ken Takakura or whatever.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, was it too long? Maybe. Was I entertained? Yeah. I just shut my brain off and watch everything unfold on the screen. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, during the fight, Okaru was giving me some Chainsaw Man vibes with his mouth. I don't know why. I felt like he had some pointy teeth, maybe, or some like a big mouth, kind of like how
Yeah,
Denji gets with the chainsaw. Uh,
I
that
really
was kind
like
of
his.
cool
I
looking.
I really like his control design. I'll call it where he has control of the spirit for a brief time, but I kind of dig that design. He's got like this scarf that looks like teeth, the slick back hair. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool.
And can we talk about the weird way he talks whenever he transforms?
Yeah. What is with the personality change? It's not like him, and it's not like Turbo Granny either. So where did that come from?
I have no clue, but like it was cracking me up because he's just talking so funny. Like it was just like the way he talked. It was such a huge personality shift for him
Yeah.
that I don't know. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, the comedy is good in this show. It's very good.
Yeah, and I do like I kind of thought if I don't know if it's gonna be a thing going forward, but I don't really mind the power of like if she stays a medium for the whole show and he kind of like even if they resolve him with Turbo Granny, maybe they find a way to live together in the same body or maybe he retains a little bit of that power that she leaves in there, like the curse power, but expels her. It could be fun to just see these two wailing on aliens and spirits for like 100 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be in. Let's do
Yeah, I
it.
would be in. And maybe they meet other psychics with other abilities, things like that. Could be fun. Um, but yeah, one of the other things I wanted to mention is the Flatwoods monster punched Momo into a wall, and I was throwing this out there. I don't think that, or he maybe threw her into the wall. But either way, I don't think that she has like she has the psychic powers, right? But I don't think they work in making her less fragile. So I don't know how any human would actually be able to survive that, but just being a high school girl, I'm like, okay, she should be dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless she was able to somehow defend herself with her psychic powers, which they don't ever mention that was the case. Yeah, I definitely see her getting crushed a little bit more than what she did. And I mean that giant monster like punching me into the wall would splatter me too. So I'm not saying, because she's a girl. I'm saying because she's a human being and that thing is as large as it is, the kind of force that it would have throwing a punch like that, it would splatter, I think, any person. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. You get the world's tallest, buffest man and do that motion, and he is splattered.
yeah, squished. It's not looking good. So I don't know. I know she's got the psychic powers, but they didn't really say that she's able to like create barriers to defend herself, kind of a thing. So I don't know. You gotta suspend your disbelief a lot, I guess, for that bit.
Yeah. Um, but it was good. I guess. Uh, any other notes on the fight, Turtle? Because I'm gonna rewind us to before the fight. After this, any other notes
Um,
on the fight from you?
um, I mean, I do kinda like where, he's, like, trying to get control of the Turbo Granny curse. So, like, he gets a chance to, become somebody else entirely, which is hilarious. And then, like, he fails, he remembers everything, and, he gets to try it again. He can run really fast, which is cool until the point where, like, he hurts himself because he runs too fast. So, I thought the fight was pretty cool. I'm interested to see what the future holds for this curse and if he's able to control it and how he's able to control it. So I'm excited to see more of that aspect and see what he can do with Turbo Granny's power.
Agreed. Yeah. I want to rewind a little bit to beginning of the episode. Kind of doing things out of order, but that's the structure here. It's a little less strict than our other format. I like the animation gags they throw in this show. I like number one when he walks through the barrier and just gets ignited into flames. Absolutely hilarious. He's thrown into the water and he's shown like his shoe is busted and he looks all disheveled and his clothes all messed up. And the very next scene, he just looks perfectly fine. So like, I love stuff like that where it just like you said, it's almost like a gag anime.
Yeah,
The way
there's a
they do
lot
this stuff.
of gag anime influences in here, and don't forget about his hair.
Yes,
The little afro happening there. He looked good in it.
that suited him real well. Um, but like the barriers, I like they're building the world lore slowly with us. Like the little piece of paper that acted as a charm to put the barrier into place. That lore was explained to us and how they keep evil spirits, I guess, and maybe aliens out of their home. And I liked that they are slowly giving us little tidbits of lore and how the like the magic system works. And I feel like it's very organic and natural the way they're giving it to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure. I think in episode 2 they mentioned that aliens and ghosts could be more similar than what we all think.
It looks like they're just gonna throw whatever the heck they want in these episodes.
Yeah, every alien is a ghost and every ghost is an alien, so whatever they feel like doing, they can do.
But that was all the notes I had for episode 2. Anything else from you, Turo?
I think that's it for episode 2, so we're going to mosey on to episode 3. Oh my god, these titles. It's Granny versus Granny Clash.
Yeah, it's a really interesting episode. We get a new character, Seiko or maybe Psycho. I say Psycho would make a lot of sense, right? Because
It
Psycho
it
and
would.
psychic powers. But maybe it's just Seiko. Uh, she is Momo's grandmother, but of course she looks like she is in her 20s. She is definitely a gilf. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
And her psychic powers are legit. Apparently, she is a TV psychic to some extent, and they show her in this episode talking to a idol, saying like, "You're really 27, not 21." And he's like, "Nah, you're wrong." And she's like, "You have a family," and he's like, "Nah." Favorite food's curry, nah. And they just go off the air. And then later in the episode, they bring it around and they show that everything she said about the guy was actually correct, and it was a big media scandal.
I thought it was pretty funny where like he just kept the same blank face the whole time as he's denying everything.
Hmm.
And then like at the end, I don't know who they were, but there were 2 people that were just bowing to him over and over again. So I don't know if they were aware of the scandal and were like, we're really sorry," or if they're just like PR people. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry that she, bothered you and said wrong things or whatever." I just thought
They're
that was
probably
kind
just
of
PR
interesting.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, "We're sorry, we're sorry." I'm like, "What are you sorry for? You didn't do anything." I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, Grandma was right. and she comes home, and there's just a possessed Okaroon running wild, and Grandma has to take Granny down. So yeah, this was really cool. I like number one, um, Seiko really knows what she's doing. It's clear she has done this for years and has incredible power. Number two, her powers don't seem to work the same way as Momo's. Momo could literally just like point her hands at Turbo Granny and just knock her down pretty much. But Seiko's like, yeah, I drew these circles and put these nails in the grounds, and these are barriers. And if you leave the barrier, you will be caught on fire and burn. And if you try to attempt to cross this barrier to get me, you will also burn. So I Seiko's like in charge of this situation, and I love just like the confidence. Like they did a great job of selling me on this character's abilities.
Oh yeah, I really dug the quote unquote fight scene here. I don't know if you call it a fight scene or it was framed as if it was a fight scene, but there was no like actual battle. Um, Seiko is very cool. I think she carries around a bat, like a baseball bat, which is just wild. Um, but at the tip of the baseball bat, like a pencil tip comes out, and she can draw her barriers or whatever she needs to do to cast her form of, magic or whatever you want to call it. So I thought she was a super cool character. She definitely laid down the law. She was able to trap Turbo Granny and basically do whatever she wanted. So incredibly powerful character, and I do kind of like the lore that they drop a little bit later. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead of you, Sean.
No, keep going.
I like that she explains like she can't just go battle Turbo Granny in the tunnel because she gets her power from the area that she lives in. There's like a protective deity, and she's able to like use that power. It's not her power. So she's only strong in the area of that deity that she's, allowed to use or borrow its power. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I like I said, they're giving us magic in a very organic and interesting and logical way. Like everything they say, you're like, yeah, I could see this being how the magic system would work here. So I like that her powers get weaker as she goes further away from home, but it seems like she's not powerless away from home as well.
Yeah,
So,
it's
but it
almost like
explains.
there's a different power system. You have the psychic powers that like Momo has, and then Seiko's power are like medium powers where they have limitations depending on like what deities you form bonds with and like what area you're in. So there's a little bit of a limitation there, but I think it's all really cool.
Yeah, I agree, and I also want to throw out. This is also jumping around, but Seiko's outfits. Like this scene where she's just wearing that eye mask. I'm like, who drew this? Like, like, how can she see anything? Like, I don't. It was just so weird to me how she's just standing there with an eye mask on, like that you would wear to sleep.
Yeah.
In, and also she's like standing around in like pretty much her underwear a whole lot. Uh, but hey, you know what? I think the older ladies watching the show are happy to have some representation, probably.
Yeah.
Or they're mad because it's an unrealistic expectation. It's unrealistic for an old lady to look like that, but I don't know. Make of
Yeah.
it what you will.
Yeah, both. Yes to both.
um, so one of my favorite parts of the episode is when Okaroon is like, she's like, "Oh yeah, something like Ken Takakura," and he's like, "I am Ken Takakura. That's my name," and like that's actually his name.
Yeah.
It's the same name as the actor.
I love her reaction. She just totally loses it for a minute there.
Yeah, and he said one or two cool lines that apparently Ken has said in a movie, and Momo's starting to think it's cool. And I think before we know it, Ken is obviously infatuated with her because she's like one of the first people to ever spend time with him. He doesn't really have a lot of friends. So the fact that he finally has one, he's happy with that. But I think she's starting to see him as a man.
A goofy, nerdy man.
Yeah, and they have a moment in this one where, you know, I think he kind of doesn't have a lot of confidence in himself. Like the fact that someone want to spend time with him, he doesn't really understand why they would. And well, it kind of reassures him about that a little bit. But now that they've been through these ordeals together, I feel like there's no going back, right? Because if you're two people who have encountered ghosts and aliens and no one else in school has, you kind of have to stick together because you have a bizarre shared experience.
Bizarre was the key word there, yes. Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm figuring once the Turbo Granny uh, scenario is resolved, they're not gonna like not talk to each other again. There's no way. They're gonna be hanging out all the time. More goofy stuff is gonna be happening, and that brings me back to like that Bleach comment. Are they gonna have to balance, the goofy alien slash ghost battling life with school life? Or are we gonna get some of that awkward balance? So I'm very excited to see more in what this show is gonna do. But, I'm definitely liking these 2 characters and as they, begin to grow closer to each other.
Same. See other notes from the episode. Oh, the scene where she has to watch him pee. I'm not gonna lie. Tori, you haven't watched Prison School, have you?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I was worried that this was gonna be a scene like this. Boy, do I really want to describe the scenes in Prison School. If you're listening to this and you have seen Prison School, you know what I'm talking about. There's a character named Anna. Gosh, I'm not gonna go through this. Never mind.
Yeah,
It's fine. If you're a true degenerate and the idea of watching someone going to the bathroom excites you, then go ahead, watch Prison School, and then go even further and read the manga. Uh, yeah, I guess that's really all I have for that one. I don't want to get this episode banned or
I was gonna say that, it sounds
reported.
like an upset on that topic.
Yeah, I don't want to get reported for saying really bizarre things. Uh, anyway, so he's going to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden, Turbo Granny's able to like stop time and make everyone's. Oh, this is an interesting thing. When a lot of spirits or aliens or anything seem to be around, it's almost like you go to another realm, and then your nose and ears start bleeding. We've seen that twice now. Once, whenever the Flatwoods monster appeared, and like they kind of went to another realm. I don't know if they went to another realm where like the house was enclosed and the alien appeared, or here where Turbo Granny appeared. Yeah, everyone just seems to be bleeding all the time.
Yeah, the whole stopping time was interesting because we haven't encountered that in the show yet, so I'm like, how powerful is Turbo Granny really to be able to freaking stop time for everybody except, Momo there, so that was interesting.
Yeah, very. But yeah, they're told they have to go back to the tunnel tonight, or else, apparently Turbo Granny's so powerful she can just start killing people through him.
Yeah, that,
Uh,
like, that she looked at or that he looked at, she can just kill them. I'm like, that's crazy powerful. Who is Turbo Granny?
yeah, Turbo Granny is OP. I don't know how they're gonna defeat Turbo Granny, but they have plot armor, so I'm sure they're gonna make it work.
Yeah, the main character syndrome, they'll be alright.
Yeah. I do want to get into the final scene a little bit where Seiko kind of wants them to survive, right? And hands them these ludicrous outfits
Yes, very, very traditional Japanese garb.
to protect them. And I love they get on the bike and they start going, but you forget the practicality of it, right? Like in a normal TV show, they would get on the bike and start going, and then the next scene they would be there.
Yeah.
But instead, they get on their bikes, and then they're far enough from the tunnel that they have to take the train.
That was so good.
So like that was probably the loudest that I laughed during any of these episodes. When they're on the train with these goofy outfits. Oh my gosh, I lost it. Though in the after credits scene, Momo has had enough of these outfits and says, "Yeah, I can't do battle in this," and then just changes into regular clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how, Seiko's like, "This is for your protection." She's like, "No, I have to look cool when I kick ass." I'm like, alright. I'll give you that."
If it's a confidence thing, great, go for it.
Exactly.
But those were most of the notes that I had on that episode. Anything else sticking out to you, Turtle?
I think we've covered everything that I can think of at least. Um, which, we'll just jump right into the final segment here. So I will ask you, Sean, after watching these 3 episodes of Dawn to Dawn, would you continue to watch Dawn to Dawn?
I will say that stopping at 3 was really difficult, and then whenever we stop recording today, I might put on the next episode. So, yes, I would watch more episodes of Dawn to Dawn. Turtle, would you watch?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely. 1,000%. I also had trouble stopping. I like episode 4 was queuing up and I had to like get out of Crunchyroll app. I was like, "No, stop. I want to keep going, but I'm afraid I'm going to bring up things that didn't happen in the first 3. I don't want to mess up this session." So, yes, it was difficult to stop. I'm very excited to watch more. And like I said at the beginning, just by reading the description, I never would have watched this show. I'm like, that sounds weird. I'm so glad that Mike put this on us because I really enjoyed this show. And like you said, Sean, more than likely, when we're done here, I'm probably going to go watch episode 4 and maybe even 5. Thank you all for joining this week as we had our Rule of 3 episode talking about Dawn to Dawn. We hope you join us next week for episode 84 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will continue to watch My Hero Academia Season 7 and the Demon Slayer Hashira training arc. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and please leave a comment. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and of course, here on YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.